So as we get started today, notice on our agenda we're going to get into Access, all about the queries. And as I've done in the past, just kind of as a fun little thing, for credit, if you take a look on Populi, which we'll need to go there today anyway because I have a starting file for you, you'll notice in the assignments list there's another assignment called Wrapping for Extra Credit, given until December 5th to, if I open it up in let's see here, in Populi, here's what I'm asking for. You can create a video wrap, something to do with Access databases. If you want to throw something in there like biblically related or related to Mays University, whatever style wrap you like, and you can even use AI to help you compose the wrap. You must be the star of the wrap, of course, to get credit for it. But all you gotta do is create the video and upload it here. And if it meets the super high quality standards set by Mays University for Access wraps, you will get credit for that. And you might even make the world famous Manning playlist. I asked Copilot to generate a wrap about Access, and I asked it to give a biblical theme to it, just to add a little bit of spirituality to wraps. You never know what you... And here's what it came up with. In the beginning, Word was Genesis of tables, structure set free, like Moses with the tablets, commandments in rows, primary keys guiding where the data flows. Now I'm sure you could do a better wrap than that. Add a little musical background and make a nice little wrap. You must be the performer, and it doesn't have to be super high quality, but may have fun with it and help us all enjoy the wonders of Access with a little wrap to encourage us. So that's an opportunity for you. Okay, so for Access, what we're going to do now is get into the heart of databases, which is getting data out of the tables that we've organized. And take a look at the assignments in Populi, and I'm going to bring up student view of the assignments. I'm going to show you in the assignment for Access Project 2, down here in Access Project 2, there is a file that you can start with because we have added data to the tables, and rather than spending a lot of time adding more data to the tables, I thought, let's jump and learn about the queries and not just make you add 10 more patients, 10 more owners. So I've given you a starting point for Access Project 2. You can just click on that and download it. And I'll download that same one just to make sure I'm starting at the same starting point. So you, rather than continue AC1, you'd have to add a bunch of data. I have added data for you, so we can use that. And I'm going to save it. But at first, before I open it, I'm going to go over to where it is, hover over the downloads. I'm going to give it a new name before I open it. I'm going to click on that and edit the name. Call it JSmart AC2. And maybe just call it JSmart AC2. And I'm going to move it over to that folder before I open it. I'm going to Control X cut it, and I'm going to come over to where I'm keeping all my CS101 files and put it in my folder where I'm keeping all my assignments. So I've given it a new name, put it in my CS101 folder, and now I'm going to open it, and then we can go on with queries. So download from Populi, go to downloads if that's where it gets saved, give it a new name and put it in your CS101 folder, or you can leave it in your downloads folder. It's fine as long as you know where it is, and you do need to give it a new name. So when I have it, I don't have a bunch of folders called AC2 starting point access to starting points or vet's starting points. Make sure you give it a name or rename the file before opening it. If you do have it open, you can always do a save as if you want to save it as a new name, but it's easier just to rename it. And remember how we can rename files. You just click on the file once and then click on it one more time and the name will be highlighted. You can edit the file name. I think right-click rename also lets you do that. Right-click. Oh, there's a right-click.
It should be at the top.
There it is. Right-click rename. Yeah, and under properties, you can give the name there as well. But yeah, right at the top of the right-click, you can rename your file. Okay. Now that we have it renamed, I'm going to open it now. I have it in the right place. Open it. And let's just review what data we have before building some queries. Here's the file that we have. And let's just see what we have in here. In the appointments table, have a few more appointments and some different patients. And if I go to design view of the appointments table, it's the same design view. That was something we imported. In owners, we have a few more owners added to the owners table. So you don't have to go through typing all these extra owners in, because this section is about creating queries and not so much let's spend a lot of time just entering data. So I've entered the data for you just to make sure we're working with the same tables. I can close that. The patients table, I've added a few more patients. And we have changed their names or their IDs to all start with letter P rather than how we initially had it. So the patient's name all start with letter P. The treatment costs, we have a treatment cost table. I don't think we added anything to that. I think we added a few more veterinarians to our veterinarians table for you. And we also have a veterinary vendors table we've added of who makes what item in our is the treatment costs. I forget where the veterinary vendors, what's that related to? There's quantity, there's an ID. Oh, the various types of supplies they provide. Okay, so we have our tables. Now it's time to build queries. We have no queries built. This is what project or chapter 2 is all about. Tables of data organized so now the queries can do their thing. So as we think about queries, think about questions. That's what query means. Questions we would ask about our data, like who has appointments coming up next week? What owners live in Utah? Well, I could open it myself and see, oh, there's these 3 owners, 4 owners live in Utah. Well, I might want to ask other questions about what owners live in Utah and in a particular city in Utah. Well, I could query that as well. Right now, I could manually, if I only have 10 owners to deal with, I could just have this in Excel spreadsheets, no big deal. But as my practice grows and I get more and more customers, it's going to be hard to manage all the data, and that's why databases came to be. Data grew and grew and grew, and people realized I need to have a better way than just looking through Excel spreadsheets to find the information. And they made big money because every business needed that, and so databases, if you know databases, you can make good money as a career in database management. But Access, it just gives us a taste of how that is all working. Because like I said before, everything on the internet uses a database at some point. So let's learn how to create a query. Access is trying to make it easy. You don't have to be a programmer. We go to the Create tab, and we right away go to Query Design. We're going to learn how to use the designer, Query Design. Now in the Query Designer, it looks a little confusing at first. We have something here. This is called our design space. This is fields. And then tables that we're going to query information from. What we want to do is build a query having to do with appointments. So I want to add the appointments table by just double clicking, and now the appointments table appears here in my design space, my design grid. That's the only table I want to deal with in this query, so I can close the Add Tables dialog. And now I see this and I think, okay, what do I do with this? I need to know something. I want to query data out of my appointments table. And in order to do that, I have to decide what fields do I want to see in my appointments table query. Well, I want to see the patient. Well, let's put this in the right order. I want to see the appointment ID Oh, sorry, I didn't mean the appointment ID. I meant something else. Oh, I can click on this in the little gray above, and I can delete that field because I didn't need that one. I accidentally chose that one. I want to see veterinarian. Double click. So what this is saying is, when you run the query, show me in the first column who the veterinarian was. The next column in the query, I want to see the appointment date. Double click. And if I expand this field, I can see that, yes, the appointment date is going to be shown from the appointments table. The next thing I want to see in this query is the appointment time. Double click, and I can expand that. Double appointment time. Next, I want to see what patient is going to be for that appointment. The only thing I know about the patient right now is the patient ID. So let's show the patient ID for that appointment. And then the treatment number, and then the owner. All right. There is no criteria right now. We will be adding criteria. That makes queries even more powerful. Right now, then, to see what I would get if I ran this query or view the result of this query, I can just click up here and view what this query will query for me. And I click view, and I see all the information in the appointments table in the columns that I asked for. Now we're not done yet. Let's go back to design view and add one more thing. So selecting what fields will be displayed or selected from the appointments table. That's what this is showing us. This here is showing me the appointments table is where I'm getting data out of, and these are the fields it's going to display for me. Well, we want to put something in the criteria just to do a little practice. Queries are most meaningful when we actually fill in the criteria. Without the criteria, it's as though I might as well just look at the table and I can see all the appointments just opening the appointments table. What good is a query if I can just view the appointments table? Here's where queries take their power. Imagine I have 100 appointments coming up in the next month. Or as I've gone through a year, I have over the year 1,000 appointments that we've had and have been recorded in my table. I want the criteria to be G01 in the criteria for the veterinarian. Let's type in G01. And if I click off of it, I will see that Access adds quotes around G01. Because it's a short text field, anything that's treated as text, Access likes to have quotes around it. Now let's run our query and see what we get when the criteria says G01. I click view, and there I only have the appointments that are currently recorded for a veterinarian whose ID is G01. So here's a query basically saying, show me or query out of table appointments this information where I'm only looking for the information for a specific veterinarian G01. And we are now going to save this query so I can go back to it later. So now I'm going to do a Control S save, and I'm going to call this query AC2-8 for the page number in the textbook where this query was completed. And I'm going to give it AC2-8, and I'll call it vet G01. When I click OK, a query will appear over here in my little navigator, and whenever I want to see veterinarian G01 data, I can double click that, and it will show me that specific data queried out of the appointments table. I can always go to design view of any query and see how that was created. And this is the user attempt to be user friendly. And as you start, it's like, wait, this isn't making a whole lot of sense. Put a table up here, click on things to make them appear down here. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but it's more user friendly than having to learn the query language. Let me show you what the query language would look like that the database experts had to learn before Access came along. Underneath View, I can go to SQL View, and I can see the actual database language that Access is generating for you as you use that design grid. Now, somebody that's understands and kind of makes sense of this, if you find that this makes a lot of sense, this is the kind of thing that you learn when you're managing databases. If you find this interesting and not super confusing, you may have a potential as a database designer, database programmer. What this is saying is, select for me this information, these columns, from the appointments table. The where is that criteria part, where the veterinarian is equal to, in quotes, G01. So you have the choice, if you're going to do databases, learn this query language, or use Access that sort of gives you a slightly user-friendly way of picking out the information I want to view in a database. So if you like looking at SQL and you're curious about that, that's basically what Access is building for us using that graphical interface. All right, so let's go on now and build another query. And I can close this one. It's always good to close your queries when you're done, just so you don't leave a lot of things open and things may not get saved. You can always come back and view the result of a query, and you can always go back and view the design of the query. And if you don't make any changes, you can just close it again. All right, now on to the second query. And as we do more of them, it'll make more sense. We're going to do a lot of them just to give you some practice. So the next query we're going to build is the owners, a query about owners. So let's go through that sequence again. The Create tab, the Query Design, and now I want information from the owners table. Now it happened to show add tables here because I had that selected. I'm going to go to Tables here and choose this time the owners table to get information from. Double click the owners table, and I can close that now. Now what do I want to see about my owners? I can expand that little box to see all the fields. I want to see the owner's first name, double click. The owner's last name, double click. Their street address, their city, and their state, and their postal code. It looks like we're getting ready to send a mail to all our owners. Before even worrying about criteria, I like to just view what we have, how many columns there are, how many records there are, to just verify, yes, that's the information I'm looking for. and I see what information is there, and then come back to design view, and now think about what criteria are we interested in this particular query. In this query, we are looking for owners who live in a state that begins with the letter U. State that begins with letter U, just to practice variations on that criteria. So I go to criteria, over here to the owner state. Now how do I specify a state that begins with a letter U? Here's how it's done. I type U and the wildcard character, otherwise known as the asterisk. U asterisk, or sometimes I'll say U star. And then if I click off of it, it puts quotes around it, but it also adds the word like in front of that. Like, quote, U star is the way Access has for saying something that begins with the letter U. The star, the asterisk, is known as the wildcard. So it could be the state just U, or it could be the state UA, UB, UC, UD, U1, U2. Whatever comes after the U could be everything, could be anything or even nothing. The star stands for any character or nothing. And now let's see what we get when we run the query. We should get only 4 results where the owner lives in state of Utah. This is why I like to look at the original data to see, okay, does that make sense? Yep, there's 4 in Utah. Yep, that query did the right thing. Let's go back to design view and show you one other wildcard that's good to know about. The wildcard stands for anything or nothing. The question mark means there is a letter there, but it could be any letter or number. So the question mark says there is something after the U, not just U and nothing after it. So the question mark means there has to be a letter there. And let's see what happens if I do U question mark. I get the same result because there is no owner that has a U in any other letter. If there were an owner that they mistyped and didn't enter the T, because it will allow 1 character state, it would not show that one with U question mark. But U star would show someone in state U. So I actually like the question mark better if I know that, hey, there needs to be a letter there. It is a 2-character long name, but that second letter could be anything. That's the question mark. In the book, they did the asterisk, so I'll change that back to an asterisk. And now I'm going to save this. I'm going to do Control S save, and that's on AC page 2-10. So I'll call this AC 2-10, 2-10, and I'll call it owners in U something, meaning that's the wild card. So this gives us practice when I know, oh, the owner state began with something. So Utah, what other states begin with the letter U? Is that the only state begins with the letter U? Okay, now I can continue modifying this query or start a new one. I like starting new ones so I don't accidentally mess up the old one that I was working with. Now we're going to do another query. Let's start again with another new query. Create, query design. I want to show the table owners, and notice I had owner selected. It automatically shows that selected here. I'm going to double click that, and just like we did before, we want to see the owner first name, double click, last name, double click, street, city, state, zip code. So same query, going a little faster now as we get used to how this works. And all we're doing is putting a different criteria, this time on the owner postal code. We're looking for someone whose postal code begins with 813. 813. And asterisk, because it could be 813, only 4 character, or it could be 5 or a 9 character postal code. So that's where the asterisk comes in handy. Now if I click off of it, remember it will add the like word in front of it and put quotes around it. Now if I run this, I will see the two owners that have that zip code, and I notice the two different zip codes. They both began with 813, but weren't the same zip code. Now if I don't care to see the zip code, say I just wanted what state they're in, I can always turn off the check mark there. The criteria will still apply. I only get the two owners, but it doesn't show that field. Now most of the time, it's useful to show the field just to kind of verify, yeah, it's doing what I expect. So usually I leave the show checked. That's the default. Sometimes as you're viewing a query, you don't actually need that to show in your result, even though the query, the criteria use that field. So that was a demonstration showing or using criteria, but you can choose to ignore certain fields even though you had it in there for the criteria. If you did want a criteria about the postal code, you have to put the field in there or the query won't work. But if you don't care to see that information, just uncheck that. And we're going to save that query as AC2-13. So I'll do a Control S save. AC2-13. Owner, postal code, I'll call it zip code 813 star, but not shown. Let's see if it'll allow us to put an asterisk in the name of a query. Yep, it allows us to put asterisk in the name of a query. That's sometimes computers don't like special characters and names of things, but it was happy with that one. Now a little bit fancier with our query. This time we're going to modify the existing query by doing a file, save as, save object as, not a save database as. So file, save as, save object as, save as again. It's kind of strange how we have to go through multiple little levels there. And now we can choose the name of our query. We're going to call this one AC2-14. Parameter query on state. Yes?
My save object as is not available.
Let's take a look.
Grayed out.
You're not in the middle of editing it or anything, are you?
So,
Let's take a look here. So save as. Oh, interesting. You're in. Is it because of your OneDrive? Go back. Do the back arrow. And do a file save as. And let's save the database as. Let's click on the save as now here, and save it to your your documents folder instead. Yeah. But that looks like it's in your. Oh, it's wanting to do with the running. Go up, and yeah, go up and go to. We don't want to go to your OneDrive. Go to Home. Click on Home, and save it. Oh, that always wants to take it to your OneDrive. What are our options? Go slide down here, and go to Local Disk, Users. On the right there, go to Users. And then go to LaVerge. And now save it in that documents folder. And now do a save. Enable content. And now go to the query.
wait,
Go back, yeah. Now go to your query. Or right click. Go ahead, close that. Close the query. Now do files, open, I guess we have to do, yeah, open the query. Now do a file save as. Save object as. I think what was happening, your query wasn't open. That was the thing. I was thinking it was your OneDrive, because I'm always suspicious of the OneDrive. It's always causing me problems. Okay, good. Okay, so. Okay, so we saved it now. Yes?
What is the name that we type? What is the thing that we type in?
For the name of the query?
Yeah.
AC2-14 parameter query. Okay, so now we can do something special. Instead of like 813, we can erase that like 813. Delete that 813, and what we want to put instead is under owner state. Yep.
Now, when I try to go to that view, it's saying it couldn't find the object AC2-14 parameter variance.
Okay, click OK. Click Enable Content in the yellow right there. Click Enable Content. Now open it, and now do file. Now try the Save As.
Like save or go to the.
File, Save As,
Because I did the whole, it went to.
Save Object.
as.
Yeah,
Like I did that.
yeah. And I'll give it the name AC2 dash, what was it? AC2-14 parameter query. Okay. Looks like it did at that time. And now I can go to design view. All right, are you good?
Yes.
Okay. I can't explain what happened there. It's kind of odd. Okay. Now we can check back on it. It's useful to see the owner postal code, so I'll turn that back on. What I want to do now is show in the book how they would like you to see that you can actually, when you run the query, have it ask you, what am I looking for a state? So here's what we type here. In brackets, we put here, in square brackets, and I'm going to expand this column here for us so I can see what we're typing. In square brackets right there on the owner state, we'll put, please enter the state. In square brackets. Let's see what goes on there. Now when I view or run the query, because the square brackets are there, it pops up a question. Please enter the state. And I can put in UT. And then when I click OK, it will show me all the data from the state of Utah. Go back to design view and run it again. And this time I'll look for IA. And what do I get for the results? There are no owners in Iowa, so I get no results. This is what we call a parameter query. When we put the criteria as square brackets, that means when you run the query, it will ask that question. Yes?
When I try to save the copy, whenever I do it, it just says that the Microsoft Access database engine cannot find the object to copy of.
Okay, well, let's take a look at what's happening there. All right, so what am I seeing here?
File, and then save as, and then I hit Control S, and it just moves.
Let's see. Spell the name, path name correctly. That is rather weird because it does show that name there, and it does, but it doesn't show a copy of. All right, click OK. And what happens if you just go to close it? What does it say? It just closes it and it's gone.
And I had to copy that.
I wonder. Okay, go ahead and how about this? Close it right now. On the right side there, right-click, make a copy. Right-click copy and a right-click paste. Now do right-click paste. And that made a copy. I can't explain. Now you can rename that one. You can right-click rename that one. And you can rename it AC2-14 parameter query. I don't know why the other one didn't work though. So yeah, there you got it. Okay. So remember, parameter query is just about the square brackets. And I could just say state question mark rather than please enter a state. And it, when I run it, it will show that question, state question mark. And I can enter UT and it'll show me some data. So don't panic if you run it and you don't enter the right state like you put in Iowa, you get no results. That just means, oh yeah, there is no data in the state of Iowa. So let's go ahead and save this one. I've already given a name, so I can just hit Control S since it has the name already, parameter query on state. Now sadly, I noticed when I run this, I thought I could type U star. U star doesn't work. You can't put the wildcard in the parameter query. You'd think that would be nice. I could say, hey, give me all states beginning with the letter U. U, maybe try backslash star. Doesn't find all the states beginning with the letter U. So it does have some limitations, but that's what we call a parameter query. All right, now let's do a few more queries because this chapter is all about queries. And we'll see how many we can get done before the end here. So that was a parameter query. Oh, another state we could have run. There's another state. If I put CO and I'm putting CO lowercase, it does find the uppercase. So the criteria is case insensitive. Whenever I run it, I'm not changing the query. I'm just changing what results it's showing. So CO or UT are the only two states. And if I want to verify that, I can always go back and look at the owners and see, yes, indeed, those are the only two states in my table. So I know that it's working, and I shouldn't see any results if I put in anything other than CO or UT. Now, another query. We want to now deal with numbers. Right now, we've just been dealing with names of things. We're going to build a query based on the treatment cost table this time. So let's go now. Now we're becoming an expert. Create, query design. The information is in the treatment cost table. So double click treatment cost and I can close the tables. So far we're only doing queries on single tables. And I want to see this information, treatment number, treatment, animal type, and cost. Well, that's all the columns in my treatment cost table. Why wouldn't I just view the treatment cost table? Well, there's a lot of things there. We want to have our query only get specific information from my table. And this time, in the criteria, underneath the cost column, I'm going to type 25. And if I click off of it, it doesn't go put quotes around the 25 because cost is treated as not as text. In our design of our database, cost is a currency field. And you can guess what I'm going to see is the treatments, only the treatment that costs $25. And I click view, and sure enough, there's the treatments that cost exactly $25. And we're going to save this query as Since I haven't named it yet, I can just do a Control S. I don't have to do a file save object as. I can just come over here and just say Control S, and I'm going to save that as AC2-17 number field. Shows up there. I can always see what was the criteria. Oh, their criteria was just exactly the number 25. Now let's make a different query, starting from scratch. Another one on the appointments table. So create a query. This time, choose my appointments table. Double click. I want to see the date, time, treatment number, veterinarian, and patient this time. So date, time, treatment number, veterinarian, patient. And what criteria? I want anyone that has an appointment after June 30th, 2021. That would have to do with the appointment date column. What would I put for after June 30th, 2021? Well, remember, just like in Excel, dates are treated as numbers, and the number goes up as you go into the future. So I want a date greater than June 30th, 6/30/2021. That's how we specify a date after that specific date. And if I click off of this, Access throws in little hashtags around the date. That's how Access has a syntax for how to treat dates in its query language. Because remember what this is doing for us, it's actually building us the SQL language, so I don't have to learn the syntax of this language. It's giving me a user-friendly, let's specify the criteria there, and I'll build the strange code for you in the background. You don't have to learn how to build that code. So in Design View, it does that for me when I just do that in the criteria. So Microsoft is thinking, we want you to use databases. This is a little friendlier way of learning to write very powerful queries, the Access Design View. And now let's run the query to see, do we indeed get appointments after that certain date? And I click View, and I see there's 2 appointments listed coming up. Now it's giving them in the different order. They're not listed ascending like what's coming first. That's something that I can do by clicking Sort and changing the sort to be ascending. Now they are listed in chronological order now. Now it will show the appointments coming up after June in chronological order, just by simply adding the sort to ascending. That means it'll be the earliest date first. And let's save this one as AC2-18 we'll call it date criteria. Let's see, we should say is what table it is. Appointment date criteria. And I'll add the word sorted because I did sort them ascending. Whenever I see something having to do with date, to me it just makes sense. Sort it by earliest first. And I click OK. It shows up there in my list of queries. And if I wanted to choose a different date, well, remember, you can always go back to the table just to see what the dates are. And yes, it didn't miss any of the other ones. All the other ones were before June 30th. Notice it did not list the one exactly on June 30th because it was a greater than, not a greater than or equal to. So it doesn't show the 6:30 appointment. That's something that I'd have to make that a greater than or equal. Now, our very last query, we're going to modify it, and this will be our last one. We're looking for appointments after June 30th and only for the veterinarian B01. After June 30th and veterinarian B01. On the same line, I can type over here under the veterinarian, I can put B01. It will put quotes around it for me. And now when I click view, I only see that specific appointment. So I am learning that criteria all on the same line mean all that criteria has to be met. We call that the and. This has to be true, and this has to be true when I list the criteria on the same line. So this has given me all the appointments after June 30th for veterinarian B01. Let's do a save as. Make sure the save as is working. We had some odd things going on. Let's try the save as. Control or file. Save as. Save object as. Save as. And call this AC2-19 compound criteria. And I'll put in parentheses and. They're on the same line. That makes it compound. They both have to be true. We call it the and criteria. And we will stop there, giving you a taste of the most powerful feature of databases. When you have, in a normal database, millions of records in multiple tables, the queries are where you get your results. When you do a search on Google, you're querying their gigantic database. Yes?
Do you want us to take the v.1 out of?
No, we want that there for the compound criteria. We want it in both.
You want it in both?
Yeah. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a compound criteria. Compound just means it's in multiple columns.
So, do we need it though for the AC2-18?
No, you can do a save as, save object as, to make it a new table, a new query. So that file save as is kind of weird. You do a file save as, the object has to be open in order for object, then you do another save as. That allows you to save the query as a different query. Now another thing you can do, the save as can be confusing. Remember, you can always come to a query and say make a copy and then do a paste. That's a quick way of making a copy of a query as well. So you can always copy it before you make changes to it, which is something I like because it's easy to accidentally hit Control S and you meant, oh man, I meant to save that as a different name. So you can always come here and do Control C, Control V, and it makes a copy of that query.
So, do we need AC2-18?
Yeah, we still want AC2-18 around.
But we don't need the v.1 in?
Yeah, the 218 doesn't have the B01. The 219 has the compound criteria. So you can always go back and edit 218 if you accidentally change 218. And it's not a big deal. The main thing we're doing is learning how to create queries. I'm not going to be super critical if you had a little mistake in one of them. All right, save that, and you are ready to have a wonderful Thanksgiving break. Don't gain too many pounds.
Do you want us to do this?
No, we're going to do more when you come back. This is just part 1 of Access 2. Have a wonderful day.